A very good morning, church.
Good morning.
Thanks a lot, Pastor Albert. Thank you very much.
We should thank you for coming.
I always feel really at home here. As I was worshiping this morning, I feel like I'm part of a family. I'm coming back to a family.
I'm back again.
Yes, I really appreciate Pastor Albert, Sister Mene, the elders of the church, and all of you really for having me here back here again. Really is an honor for me, Jennifer, privilege for me to be here to share with you all. Right? So, without much ado, I would like to begin my message, to share my message with you. And today, I titled my message. I've titled my message 1 + 1 = 3. You must be thinking, Vincent, you failed your physics. How did I pass my physics test? Man, 1 + 1 = 3. Come on, Vincent. But okay, this is basically you allow me a mathematical thing, okay, in spiritual principle, right? And that I'm going to expand further as we go along, right? So I'm seeing some new faces, I'm seeing some old faces. Please forgive me if I can't remember all your names, okay? But I'm trying, all right? I'm trying, Christina, Jenny, and so many of you, Alex, Eugene, David, Hans, Stella. All right, okay. Thank you for the warm welcome. All right, now today's message, right? I have actually broken it up into 3 main parts. If you know my style, normally I will start off with a series of pictures, that will actually I share from my own life. Okay, what I think God has been leading me and Jenny, all right, and my family as well as down south. Okay. Then the second part is about maybe all of us we look into God's word and see what it means in the context of 1 + 1 = 3. All right, and then last but not least, you know that I'm a licensed professional and I'm a counselor and a psychotherapist. So I will also share with you some tools or techniques in that end. Okay, 1 + 1 = 3. All right, now. There's some pictures that are missing. Oh, okay, all right. So earlier of this year, Jenny sends her greetings, by the way, all right, to all of you, her warmest greetings, and she's unable to come here. In fact, I flew in this morning, and I will be flying back later this afternoon. Okay. So earlier of this year, we felt called by God, Jenny and I and our children, to move to a church. It's called Dhammasara Utama Methodist Church, which was PUMC, which was started by Pastor Dr. Daniel Ho. And also for our children's sake, because we were for a number of years, 3 years, with SIB Live, a Bahasa speaking church, and our children, as they grow, they couldn't find a fit in. They couldn't attend international school as well. So being in DUMC since January of this year, and then what's exciting for both of us is that we are now part. We should have never been part of to our spiritual life. It was that being part of a church style, right? And Pastor Daniel, it's a long story, but Jenny got because they were sharing a platform together, speaking to a nationwide group of pastors, and got to connected with Pastor Daniel, and then Pastor Daniel invited us over to listen to him to speak, and then also we saw, hey, maybe our children can fit into DUMC. And then DUMC's focus this year is on missions, more specifically missions, and decided to start a church, right? A church that's actually, we call it a marketplace church, more specifically reaching out to people in the marketplace, all right? And aren't we all in the marketplace one time or another, all right? So the theme is to bless and transform. I won't be sharing a series of some of this, but just to share with you. Okay, so we launched it on the 13th of April, just last week. And the vision is basically to start with a marketplace church and to begin to replicate it across the Klang Valley and by God's grace to the world as well. So it's through the marketplace outreach. So how it's designed is that there will be talks from Christian marketplace business people, right? And then we will open this up to the community, right? To people we know and also to friends and all that. We blast it out, and then people come right into the setting, and then it's alternating weeks, and then the week after that is a church, and then the following week then another Christian speaker will come sharing business insight and so on. Right? Yeah, this is basically through lifestyle management. So here I think this picture that we took together last Thursday, 13th, and then that's our leader, Pastor Daniel Ho, and then Jenny is actually basically working with him to this because Jenny had some experience starting up a church, and then through Hekai Ministry she learned certain concepts to reach out, okay, missions. So these are the 6 characteristics of that church, right, that we are now excited to be part of, right, starting up, right. And then we have divided into 2, right. Basically, Pastor Daniel Ho designed it this way, right. Plug in would be the workplace outreach, all right, marketplace outreach, and then Sparks will be the marketplace outreach where we have speakers coming in, and then plug in would be the church. Right? So in that way, we reach out to the community, we put them in. Because there is such, we realize there is such a hunger, out there among the young adults, among the young business people, right, who are unreached pre-believers for to be successful, and even more so in these times of economic challenges, right? Isn't it? So getting in speakers to share their experience is one of the things that we can do, and then slowly through connecting with them, networking with them, we can invite them then after that to come in to join us again the following week in a more church setting in the same place as well, right? Which now hopefully has become less threatening for them. Okay? So also Jenny and I, we are also part definitely of the cell group. These are our cell group members. And more recently, also Jenny was sharing in the Chinese church, and then here we celebrated my father-in-law's birthday at our house. Okay, that's my parents-in-law. Okay, my mother-in-law, and then my father-in-law. Yeah. Okay, that's my brother. This is Jenny's sister, married to a pastor as well. Yeah, from Every Nation Church. In KL, Every Nation Church. So this is my brother-in-law.
The love comes on.
Oh, on and on.
Because the contact may not be very good. Yes.
Okay, let's move on. Okay. So my message this morning: 1 + 1 = 3. Right? Now, if you have been around and you've been listening to some messages, you may have come across the term "better together." Have you heard of that? You heard of it? Stronger together, right? Better together, stronger together. And some long time ago, the philosopher Aristotle came out with the whole is more than the sum of its parts. Right? Now, in the Bible, there are many verses, right, which we are going to explore that actually equates to the mathematical function 1 + 1 = 3 or more also. Right? And I would like to invite you, just like the picture here, right? A firework. If you encounter a firework just on its own, right? Hey, it may be a beauty to behold, but can you imagine a landscape filled with many fireworks? It's a beauty, right? It's even more beautiful to behold. It lights up the sky, right? In so many different ways, okay? Than just one. Alright? So let me invite you to look at it in that way, in that perspective. We'll now move on to the part to look at the Bible. Right? Let me read it out aloud. In the next few slides, right, there are some Bible verses, right, that I would like to share with you. And this is, I'm reading from the New Living Translation, from 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 to 15. First, here. So the human body has many parts, but the many parts make up one whole body. And so it is with the body of Christ. Some of us are Jews, some are Gentiles, some are slaves, some are free. But we have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share the same Spirit. Yes, the body has many different parts, not just one part. And if the foot says, I'm not a part of the body because I'm not a hand, thinking that maybe perhaps the foot is thinking, I'm lesser, I'm smaller, I'm not important, right? That does not make it any less, the Bible says, a part of the body. Continuing on, verse 16. And if the ear says, I am not a part of the body because I'm not an eye, would that make it any less a part of the body? If the whole body were an eye, how would you hear? And if the whole body were an ear, how would you smell anything? But our bodies have many parts, and God has put each part just where He wants it. How strange the body would be if it had only one part. Verse 20. Yes, there are many parts, but only one body. The eye can never say to the hand, I don't need you. The head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, some parts of the body seem weakest and least important are actually the most necessary. And the parts we regard as less honorable are those we clothe and with the greatest care. And so we carefully protect those parts that should not be seen. Verse 24, while the more honorable parts do not require this special care. So God has put the body together such that the extra honor and care are given to those parts that have less dignity. This makes for harmony among the members, so that all the members care for each other. If one part suffers, all the other parts suffers. And if one part is honored, all the parts are glad. All of you together are Christ's body, and each one of you is part of it. If you remember, when I was here some sessions ago, you can remember this kind. I see some heads nodding here. And this is coming from the psychological perspective of this model that is called, when you are being trained to be counselors, this model called the biological, psychological, social, spiritual model. And we are trained to use this model to assess a client when he or she comes in to seek help. Alright? Now, this shape I come up with it. The reason being is that I put the spiritual in the center, and I believe strongly, right? All other therapies may not, but I believe strongly the spiritual drives the other parts. Alright? Now, for today's purposes, I will be sharing more from the spiritual and the social, because I realize that for most of my sharing here, I'll be focusing on here the biological as well, the emotional well-being, the psychological perspective. So for today, I want to talk about relationships, I want to talk about teams, I want to talk about community, especially within the church families. And remember, right, brothers and sisters, when community, when individuals come together, we all come from different unique backgrounds, isn't it? And sometimes when we come from different backgrounds, even so also husband and wife, right? Which couple, husband and wife, can say that, in our marriage of over, let's say, 10 years, 20 years, we've never had an argument before. Oh, Meg, you know, right? Yeah. Me too, I cannot put up my hand, So I will be sharing with you in the third part, right? Some tools, some techniques that, Lillian and Eugene as well, right? And many of you, right? Even within church, when you come together to serve, you find that sometimes we may rub on each other a little bit harder than usual, and brush against each other, right? And sometimes that, remember that we're all part of one body, right? I want to issue. My vision here is just to encourage all of us. Isn't it, right? I just bring a message to you to encourage. Now let's look at a couple of more verses. Right? 1 plus 1 equals 3. Hebrews 10 verses 24 to 25. Let us think of ways to motivate one another with acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together, right? As some people do, but encourage one another, especially now that the day of His return is near. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verses 9 to 12, 2 people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other person can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Right? Likewise, 2 people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but 2 can stand back to back and conquer. 3 are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Now, I'm going into my third part now. Okay? More from the counseling perspective, more from the therapy perspective. Okay? Here, people have done studies, right, and they have come up with some components of intimate interaction. So bear in mind, intimate interaction is a close interaction. It's not just within a couple, right? Between sister to sister or within a community. Yeah? You may have a close interaction with one another. And there are certain components or certain pillars that will make or enrich or strengthen that relationship, okay, or that closeness. And the first one here is the ability to see the good of each other. Because sometimes when we exist within a system, right, and when we are constantly distressed or maybe under stress, we may adopt a certain mindset, a mindset that is more negative, pessimistic, right? And it is important to balance that mindset of being a pessimist with some optimism, and that's the ability to see the good, right? For example, in the light of the recent challenges, right, we may begin to have a certain view, or we may begin to approach it or look at it in a certain extreme way, right? Coming out from a more pessimistic way. So to balance it with a little bit optimistic, okay, what good can I find? Right? What good can I see in this person? Is so important, right? The ability to see the good in our partners, in our spouses as well. Okay, the ability to show care, right? Caring is such an important part of a relationship, and show care to one another. And this is so important, especially when you see the need, right? Show that care to that person. Right? I have couples that come in and see me, and then they say, "Okay, Vincent, it feels not right when in my relationship with my spouse, whenever I have to request for care. When I have to request for care, something is not right. I shouldn't be requesting. He or she should be, be able to know, be able to detect that I need some caring or some TLC, tender loving care. But hey, that cannot be. That can be a false expectation, because sometimes our partner or our colleague or our friend or our bosses even may be drained himself or herself, right, or may be tired. So sometimes it is okay, right, to say, hey, I need some breakfast in bed tomorrow. Request for it. Request for it, right? I'm putting myself in trouble. Right? You can request for it, alright? Request for care in a way that, hey, I'm going to be going to the doctor tomorrow for a medical checkup. Is it okay that you accompany me? I'd like to have someone to be with me. It is okay. It is okay. If not, then if that person assumes that, don't worry, if I announce that, surely somebody will come. Hey, that is mind reading already, isn't it? Right? You fall into a mind reading, and then, hey, then you are the one that is, maybe creating the story, right? I mean, ask for it. It's okay. Protectiveness. Protectiveness is about, right? Sometimes for all of us, we need to be able to take the position of our spouse or our friend or our cell group members, even though we may not agree fully. Right? In the light of especially, certain threats from the external. Okay? Maybe from the in-laws or from colleagues or friends. Okay? Protectiveness is about, hey, I'm with you. Know this. I'm with you. Okay? And that's so important. Right? Enjoyment. We need to learn to enjoy each other. Alright? Within cell group, right? We have outings, we do activities together, we serve the community, we enjoy each other. Learn to do that. And then responsibility is about, hey, if we sometimes feel distressed and we have used a word that's out of place, or we have done something that is inappropriate, own it and say, take responsibility. Hey, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for doing that. Because for all of us, right, sometimes when we are triggered due to an external threat, and that threat be our spouse, or a cell member, or a church leader also, right? What happens is that our brain, this head model, right? Remember? Right? Survival brain, emotional brain, thinking brain. When we are normally working with rational beings, calm and collected, the brain is like this. It's truly like this, okay? The survival brain, there are three major parts to the brain, basically. That's what I'm saying. There are three major parts to the brain. Remember? The survival brain, the primitive survival brain, that comes online when we are born. Okay, that's why babies, when they are small, hungry, they cry. It's out of the survival brain. Okay, it comes online, it's fully developed the moment we are born. Then there's the emotional brain, also fully formed when we are born. God created this way. And then the rational thinking brain only comes fully online when we are in our early 20s, 23, 24, 25. That's why when we are teenagers, we tend to think we are always right, we challenge authority, we want to, so this is the part that comes online later on. But as adults, the brain, when we are rational being, is like this. Okay? So this is the stem of the brain that goes down here. Okay? Behind our forehead is the rational thinking brain, the seat of judgment. Okay? So let's assume we are all adults. I mean, we are all adults, not assume. Still teenager. So like this, right? So just to explain, the brain doesn't physically do this, of course, but when we sense a threat, be it our spouse, our CG members, or anybody, our friends, our colleagues, the brain goes like this, leaving the thinking brain aside, the survival brain in charge, the emotional brain in charge. Have you ever felt that? Yeah. And it is in this mode that we actually interact with our threat. It's a survival mechanism. It's a survival mechanism. We fight, we fly, or we freeze, isn't it? Imagine that thousands of years ago, cavemen, saber-tooth tiger come, family in the cave, happy, warm fire burning in front, right? Same thing, right? The brain goes boom, boom like that. Immediately, in microseconds, he's reaching for his rock, his spear, or whatever, screaming at the top of his voice, out of anger, out of fear, right? Whatever, trying to fight the threat or run. Can you imagine if the brain somehow malfunctioned and is still engaged like this? That fellow, the caveman, might be thinking, talking to the saber-tooth tiger, hold on, let me wake up my children, my family, you wait first, I wear my shoe, start running, you chase. Right? Isn't it? Right? You start to rationalize, right? Cannot. But that's the reason for thousands of years we have survived. Humanity has survived. Because the brain goes like this. But fast forward to the modern day, in a relationship with our spouse, with our bosses, with our CG members, with our church leaders, the brain still go like this. So what happens? We fire up. We fire our words. We fire the biggest missile over. Right? And some people become physical. And can you imagine the damage that does? Sad, isn't it? Right? So the best is we need to learn to engage back. We need to learn to engage back. Right? And how do we do that? We learn to walk away. Right? And allow the brain to engage back. And then only we discuss the person. Okay? not in this state, because you know that you're thinking wicked. And in this state, it has led people to want to commit suicide too. It has led people to make emotional decisions. Right? In this state, because the thinking brain is not engaged. Okay? Alright? So we need to learn to take responsibility for our actions, right? And then within the context of that relational setting, an intimate relationship, we need to find a space to share our hurts. Okay? Share our hurts. Okay? And this is so important, right? To be supported, to be nurtured, to be prayed for. Okay? To share our hurts. Okay? To some, not to everyone, but to people that we can trust and we know that can hold us and journey with us through that pain or difficulty that we are facing. And last but not least, the seventh item, forgiveness. For me, doing this work, forgiveness is the biggest. All are important, this work is forgiveness. So forgiveness is the ability to say, hey, I still love you, despite forgiveness. And when we are able to forgive, it's a. So there are two parts to forgiveness, brothers and sisters. Right? The first part is for the person to ask or seek forgiveness. And the second part is for the person to grant forgiveness. You see, for the person who has done that transgression, right, to seek forgiveness is important. When you seek the forgiveness, you feel that burden. Then for the other person to grant the forgiveness. Now, for that person to grant the forgiveness, he may say, okay, hey, thank you for that. I really appreciate you for that. But I need time to process. So in the meanwhile, I may put our relationship status to be on maybe 0 level. And whereas before it was 7 or 8. And that's okay too, right? To allow that person to process. Or that person may say, I hear you, right? And I forgive you, but here are my requests. Right? So that person may want to be different now, moving forward, right? There may be certain things to learn from or to do differently. Follow? Okay? Yes? Alright. As part of the working with couples and especially couples, right? There is one tool. Okay, there's one tool that's available online. Okay, that's called the Prepare and Bridge tool. It's actually a Christian-based tool, and if you look at the statistics, right, over 4 million relationships have been strengthened to this. Over 100,000 facilitators in the whole country. I'm one of the facilitators as well in Malaysia. 12 languages and so on. Right, this tool is available online, and what it does is that Prepare and Bridge actually is a premarital assessment toolkit, and it's also for marriage. Okay, so that you can actually take after getting married, maybe intervals of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, whatever, just to get the assessment, understand where both of you are at, right? And then also it doesn't stop there. After that, it comes out with a very elaborate report, and then a workbook as well to address perhaps some of the areas that to bridge that gap. It's not this tool is not about okay. If I take this and then if I see incompatibility of a certain degree, then we don't get married. We don't get married. Or couples who have been married for so long, like me and my Jenny, the differences is big one. Wherever we take this test, we do take such tests before. Our personality is like North Pole and South Pole. It's like that one. So it doesn't mean that then we should get separated. No, right? It's then to learn skills to bridge that gap. Right? Because nobody can be 100% same, right? No, because one of the things that is that some people say, differences attract, or similarities attract. Right? Which one do you agree?
Differences. Boring.
Sorry, otherwise it's boring. So studies have been done, right, to do this, and they found that actually both are true. So what I would like to share with both of you here, right, is that even within a community of believers. Whether you are the same, similar or differences, look at it this way, right, in a broader picture. If both are the same, there can be strength and there can be challenges, agree? Or weaknesses, agree? Yes or no? Because when you see things together, when you sew together, then you may miss out on some other areas. Remember, all of us, we have blind spots, remember? Sometimes the Johari window, right? And then the strength is, when you're so similar, maybe your conflict is much less. Yes? Conflict much less. Sure enough. But if you are very different, let's say, come together like me and Jenny, right? Then the best part is that, when we're so different, potentially you can learn to see and work through that, right? Hey, we can have different perspective. Yeah, we can learn to see a bigger, broader stroke, bigger picture. But then reaching that is the challenge to navigate. Okay, that is a skill to be learned, right? How we communicate, I'll show you with another model later, how we compromise sometimes or collaborate. That's key, alright? So prepare and reach, right? Prepare and reach basically assesses on these 10 dimensions, brothers and sisters, right? All the way beginning with communication, conflict resolution, partner style, habits, financial management, sexuality, leisure, financial friends, relationship roles, children parenting, spiritual needs. In fact, right, as a facilitator, when a couple come and say, hey, we would like to take this, right, we can select which type. There's the religious one, the spiritual one, there's the common one, and so on. Okay. I think LGBTQ also has one. Right? Then we can work. Okay. I would like to share with you all a short video. Just over 5 minutes long. And this video is about fair fighting rules. Now, the title, Fair Fighting Rules, tells a lot. It says that it is saying that fighting is normal. It's not to be avoided. Right? It is how we fight. Gloves on, from the corner. Alright? But really, it's not about not fighting. If a couple comes and see me and say that, Vincent, the last 5 years, our marriage has been a bed of roses. No fighting. I would like to interview. Maybe it's a thesis to be written then. But really, right? There's something to be seen there as well, okay? If there's no fighting, no argument. What's happening then? Things being avoided, being swept under the carpet, right? Waiting to blow up, maybe? It will not blow. Alright, okay? So, fighting can be, if I want to say it, is to be expected. When people come together and to work together as teams or in a marriage, in a romantic relationship, you can expect that. But it is how we work through that conflict, coming out the other side, having a better understanding of each other, apart from finding a resolution as well. Okay? Alright? Brother Hans, can you help me to play the video, please?
Problem into a big one. A disagreement that seems silly and unimportant can become emotionally charged and painful. This is where fair fighting rules come in. Fair fighting rules don't tell us not to argue. Instead, they teach us how to argue safely without damaging our relationships. They tell us what's okay and what's crossing the line in an argument. Today, I'm going to teach you about 9 of these fair fighting rules. Number 1. Before bringing up a problem, ask yourself why you feel upset. Are you actually angry that your partner left mustard out on the counter, or is it really something bigger? If you bring up the mustard and the problem is really about housework, you're both going to be disappointed with the outcome. Your partner is going to wonder why you're so upset about the mustard, and you're going to be disappointed that the real problem goes unresolved. Number 2. Discuss one issue at a time. Some couples have the tendency of unpacking their whole history during arguments. By the end, they're asking themselves, why are we even talking about how did we get here? By discussing too many issues at once, the original problem is buried and nothing is solved. This doesn't mean that multiple issues can't be important. It's just we can only focus our full attention on one at a time. Number 3. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Degrading language is never okay. That means no put-downs, no swearing at the other person, no name calling. By using degrading language, you're telling your partner that they, as a person, are not okay. Discuss the issue, not the person. Number 4, express your feelings using words and take responsibility for your feelings. If you aren't sure how to express yourself, try using this sentence. I feel blank when blank. The first blank should be an emotion word, like angry, frustrated, upset, or hurt. The second blank should be a specific situation or problem. So, for example, I felt worried when you didn't return my phone call. By expressing your emotions verbally, your partner is more likely to empathize with you and to understand your point of view. Number 5, always take turns speaking. This one is a lot more challenging than it sounds. When you're in a serious discussion and you really want to be heard, it can be tempting to sit there and think about what you want to say rather than listening. And this usually leads to one person dominating the conversation. If you're having trouble following this rule, try setting a timer and allowing each person 1 minute to speak. When the speaker finishes, the listener should briefly summarize what they said before taking their point. Keep taking turns in this way until it's no longer necessary. Number 6, no stonewalling. Stonewalling is when someone refuses to engage in the discussion. Usually, someone will do this when they feel anxious about a conversation and they'd rather avoid it. This isn't usually intended to hurt the other person, it's more like a defense mechanism. However, when someone stonewalls, the problem goes unresolved. Number 7, no yelling. You might feel like you won an argument by yelling until your partner is in, but no one's better off for it. The problem goes unresolved, and now everyone's unhappy. Yelling usually doesn't come from nowhere. Try catching yourself while your voice is starting to rise, rather than waiting until you're shouting. Number 8, if you're finding that any of the rules are being broken or that things are just getting too heated, take a time out. Spend 15 minutes apart doing something relaxing to calm down and collect your thoughts. Then, when the time is up, come right back to the discussion. Anyone can call a timeout at any time. Just be careful that timeouts aren't being used as a form of stonewall. The goal is to take 15 minutes just so things can calm down a bit. Then, come right back to the conversation. Number 9, try to reach a compromise. There isn't always going to be a perfect resolution to every problem. It's up to you to know what you're willing to compromise on and what you're not. Just know, if you're not willing to compromise on anything ever, a lot of your problems are going to go unresolved. These are the 9 fair fight rules. By following these rules, your arguments will become less painful and more manageable.
How do you find the video? Okay, alright. Useful, practical tips. Which one appeals to you out of the 9? Stonewalling. Sure. Okay, stonewalling. Okay. Oh, sure. Thank you. Yes. Anybody want to try? Anybody else? Stonewalling.
Yelling.
Yelling. Okay. All right. Okay. I'd like to expand on one part of that suggestion. I cannot remember the number before I go there. Right? Is the one to communicate using a feeling word. Is that right? So when we communicate using a feeling word, you can communicate and say, hey, I'm angry at you for the can. But I have a suggestion here. Right? Because a lot of times, not always the case, but a lot of times when we are angry, is actually a secondary emotion. Alright? Imagine an iceberg, right? And the tip of the iceberg that appears above the water level is the anger emotion. But beneath the surface level is basically the bulk of the iceberg that sank the Titanic, right? A host of primary emotions that appear as anger. Why do we feel anger most of the time? Because anger is a strong emotion. It makes us feel strong. It gives us a sense of control, and power over the other person. So by default, we feel anger, right? But if we are able to get in touch and honest with ourselves and be able to get in touch with the host of primary emotion, for example, fear, insecurity, loneliness, right? What happens is that we are able to communicate that, then there's a chance to heal, a chance to sort things through. So sometimes people come into my practice and say, Vincent, and I'm journeying with clients, even right now as I speak. They come in and say, these people are high-flying people, financial controllers, directors, and come in and say, Vincent, help me manage my anger. Because some of these people, they go home, right, for whatever reason, physically abused, children, their wives, right? And then what happens is that they come, and then one time after a few sessions, this man actually broke down and said, Vincent, I can't bear the thought that I have a wife beaten. Alright? So what I'm trying to say here is that, yes, I can teach anger management. I can. I have a host of skills. But then, right, if we really work through to the core, working out of that primary emotion, there's a lot of healing in that space. Yeah, there's a lot of healing in that space, primary emotion. I tell you, so I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, one day my son comes to me and says, Daddy, I would like to go to the latest roller coaster in town. Some of my friends have gone and they say it's exciting, it's fun, And I say, no son, don't go. Right? A few days later, maybe next week, he comes and says, Daddy, more of my friends have gone. And they say it's super good. I also want to go. I begin to feel what? Anger rising up. I begin to feel anger. Thinking to myself, I have already laid down the boundary for you. Why can't you understand? If I pause here, freeze that frame, and I'm honest with myself, and I think, okay, what is beneath that anger for me? Oh, it's the fear of losing my son. Losing him because that roller coaster in town is not the Universal Studio quality type one. Maybe some, somewhere on right? So I have that fear. So if I had chosen to communicate anger to him and said, no son, then he had said, cannot lah. Why are you still challenging me? How would he feel? He will feel angry. Or you maybe feel, oh, my dad is such a hard man, disciplinary, right? And that will only push him away from me. But if I choose to communicate, son, actually daddy don't want you to go because that you fear losing you. Because that roller coaster, daddy don't believe that it's good. Maybe it's a mishap waiting to happen. Right? And daddy don't feel, whether right or wrong doesn't matter. But I communicate that to him. How does it feel? Oh, my dad cares for me. He cares for me. Right? And in that, right, that will only pull him closer to me. Agree? So, working from a primary emotion. So, going back to that point just now, that man put it generally speaking, but I encourage you, right? If you want to communicate out of that, out of vulnerability, out of a conflict, whether it's within a community, whether it's within the cell group, or whether it's within the church, or whether it's within your spouse, right? Communicate out of a vulnerable emotion, if that be the case, right? And say, hey, I don't like this, I'm angry. Then immediately you will feel potentially that person's wall will go 5 feet high, 3 feet thick. And it's not going to be helpful, isn't it? Right? That we communicate out of this. But vulnerability, according to Dr. Brené Brown, right, one of the foremost researchers, you can look her up. She's given talks on TEDx as well. Dr. Brené, B-R-E-N-E, BROWM, Brené Brown, right? That has very good talk on vulnerability. Because she has done studies. Vulnerability connects people. And it is so true. Right? Unless your heart is made of stone, our heart is made of flesh. You will connect people. Okay? So communicate on that. Alright? Okay? Okay? I would like to share with you, it's a bit, maybe at first glance, maybe it looks a little bit scary or wordy, but let me explain to you. It's quite a powerful concept, the message that it brings forth to us. Right? This is called the conflict resolution model developed by Thomas Gilman. When it was developed for the workplace, but the value behind here is profound. You can also use this in relationships, in our intimate relationship, or with friends and colleagues as well. It's very powerful because I have actually, first of all, used this in my thesis, right? I did my master's, and also in my work with couples and also with individuals. So, first of all, just focus on this. Follow me. On the x-axis here is a spectrum moving from being uncooperative to being cooperative. It is all about attempting our attempt to satisfy another person's needs or wants. Okay. On the y-axis is a spectrum moving from being unassertive to assertive. It's about giving voice to our own needs, satisfying our needs. Okay. Then within this x and y, there are 5 boxes. Okay, we'll start with the bottom first. From the left, avoiding, and the goal here is to delay. Meaning, sometimes when you're part of a discussion, right, or part of an activity, you find yourself probably don't feel like cooperating. And yet, don't feel like giving voice to a concern or a need within. Okay? So here, our position is perhaps to delay, or sometimes in a conflict within a couple, maybe sooner than the couple. Just avoid it, right? And move on. Come, let's move on. Or just do nothing about it. Okay? So, uncooperative, unassertive. And then over here, the right hand side is a box that is, hey, I would like to cooperate with you. Alright? So much. But my needs not important. Right? My needs not important. Can also, right? Whether good or bad, never mind, just follow the right. The goal is to, hey, I will yield, accommodate, I will yield to you for whatever reason. It may be the case that you are better at this. Right? So I will follow. No problem. Right? I will follow. It's okay. Right? And so often within, when I see couple, I say that how many conflicts could have been avoided because one of you can choose the position of winning. For example, one partner may be, and I'm being neutral here, that's why I use partner, I use spouse. Say, one partner may be an accountant, right? And they are arguing or in conflict who should be managing the family's finances, right? And how come it will be and say that one partner said, okay, since you are really good with numbers, detail, you can pick out that 1 cent off of 10 cents, you take the lead up. Then I follow. Okay? Forward. Moving to the top. Competing and collaborating. Sometimes, right, we may find ourselves highly uncooperative, highly assertive. Right? Because this is maybe coming out from a certain value, right, that we have. When we really want to fight tooth and nail about it, right? Highly competitive, and the goal is to win. I must win this conversation. Then, but the thing with this is that, right, in order to win, somebody has to lose. Right? And we have to think. Right? In the workplace, that's why I said workplace. In the workplace, maybe it's okay. But in the relationship, ultimately, the relationship loses. Right? Because the losing partner or spouse or right, you may not go out of it with, you may go out with something with damage, right? With hurts. Okay? So, competing. Right? Now, collaborating and compromising. Collaborating is all about, hey, let's come together, work together, and yet I'm able to, let's hear it out. Okay? What are your needs? What's my needs? Let's put it up. Collaborating. Compromising is right in the middle. I will cooperate with you halfway. I will be assertive about my needs and halfway also. Compromising. The video just now talked about compromising, right? But here I present to you an example because collaborating and compromising may be confusing for some. What's the difference? Let's say Jenny and I, we have a free weekend together, a very rare free weekend together, and we say, let's go out for something. And Jenny says, I want to go to my favorite nasi lemak stall. I like nasi lemak. All the sometimes make the stomach greasy and uncomfortable. But I like my favorite roti canai stall. I want to go to my roti canai stall. Right? I want to go to my roti canai nasi lemak, roti canai nasi lemak. Cannot reach a conclusion. Collaborating is putting our heads together. Right?
Go to a shop that sells both.
Say what?
Go to a shop that sells both.
Okay, coming to that, okay. Collaborating is actually a bit different. Collaborating is saying, because collaborating is both our needs are met 100%. Meaning, we collaborate in this way. We say that, hey, darling, let's say, maybe can we agree? This weekend, okay lah, my stomach busy or what, then I follow you to your favorite nasi lemak stall. Can we agree the next time we have a free time, it must be my roti canai stall? Collaborate, no? Right? So you cannot come out and say, next time you want your nasi lemak again lah. Collaborate. Both 100% met. Boleh or not? Can, right? Compromising is, as what Jenny was saying, he's saying that it's very rare that we have this opportunity, both are free. Compromising is saying, let's go to a mall that serves, maybe a food court that serves both nasi lemak and roti canai. The other 50% not our favorite stall, you know. At least you get nasi lemak and roti canai. Compromise. Right? Here is, brothers and sisters. These 5 boxes, right, there's no good or bad. Challenging, right? There's no good or bad. It's not saying that the avoiding box is bad or the blue box is bad. The best is collaborating. Can be situational. Think about it. My invitation here is for you to think about it. It is situational. Okay. There may be times when you need to be competitive. Yeah. Put your view across. Right? Maybe at least it's a process, right? At the onset. In brainstorming, for example, or but if you ask me, eventually you should try to aim for collaborating and compromising. Right? No right or wrong. Think about it. Okay? Right? Okay? 1 plus 1 equals? 3. 3. Not 5, huh? You're still with me, right? Not 5, right? Yeah. So, there's another part of that, I cannot remember the words. I think it's in Matthew or something. That goes like this. The verse goes like, when 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, then God says, I am in the midst of you. Though the context then when it was written was more on discipling one another, or disciplining, one another. You need the context of the verses before, right? But God says, when 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am. When the believers come together, God is there. Believers come together. So 1 plus 1 equals 3. 1 plus 1. So my encouragement for you, coals of fire. I'm sure for a lot of us, we have come across this proverbial story of burning coals. Right? And just to end and to encourage all of us here is that as a community of believers, my encouragement for all of us is that be part of the community. Bearing in mind, bearing each other with love, with grace. None of us are perfect. Agree? Any of you perfect? Can put up your hand. Yeah, none of us. Yeah, none of us. So, but still, being part of community, the benefit is vast. 1 plus 1 equals 3. Because as one person, we can achieve limited, but together, we are a force. Together, we are a force. Alright? But the core right? Our faith, when a coal drops out from its group of other people, it grows cold very fast. Not to say as a group we can't grow cold. We can also, if we fail to, for example, study the Word of God, and Salt Shaker is strong in the Bible story. Then reading the Bible, praying together, meeting together, encouraging one another. But as a single pole, how much more is the risk of growing pole just so fast? Right? So here is our encouragement for all of us, and gentle reminder: come together, and if you can together, think of how projects that you can actually reach out to the community, reach out to the community and share. Okay?
Amen.
So, thank you. So I'd like to end my message today now and pass the time back to Pastor Albert. But I'm definitely open to questions, and it's always normally the case. Pastor Albert will ask me to field some questions, Q&A. And I'm open here as well. If you have some questions, you can ask me now. Okay, Pastor Albert. Thank you so much.